Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of the Fat Doctor podcast. I am your host, Dr. Asha Lamy, and it is Wednesday, the 27th of November. It's a day before Thursday, the 28th, which is Thanksgiving. And then it's Friday, the 29th, Black Friday. Sunday is the 1st of December, which for many is the beginning of the Advent season. December's a great month of the year as far as I'm concerned. Number one, Sagittarius season. I'm a Sagittarius rising, so just putting that out there. Also, it's the winter solstice is coming, which is great because the days have been getting shorter and shorter, but that stops. 21st of December, or I think it's the 21st, 22nd, and then they start getting longer. Delightful. That's what we all need. But for many, it is also, as I said, Thanksgiving. If you do Turkey Day, or you actually celebrate, or you don't celebrate. And then for some, there's Christmas, for some, there's Hanukkah, for some, there's Kwanzaa, for some, there's none of the above. But whatever happens, December tends to be a very busy month of the year. There are office parties, there are meals to be had, and some great food. Let's be honest. It came up the other day. It's been noticed that I've never had a pie before. I've had apple pie, but I've never done pecan pie. I've never tried sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie or cherry pie or any of the pies. So a lot of people are talking about pie right now, and it's not something that I can contribute to because I've never had it. I feel like that needs to be rectified. But yeah, it's a season of eating, which is great. But it's also a season of tricky times, I think. Complex times. And I've been thinking, about the type of people that I've been working with recently, and how they're struggling with the holiday season. And I'm noticing some recurring themes. I'm noticing that there are certain groups of people who are really struggling at the moment, and because I'm speaking to a lot of them, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a common thing. This is happening to a lot of people. I thought I'd put it out there on my podcast. I thought I'd talk about, like, I haven't thought of a title yet. It usually comes to me in the middle of the podcast, but, like, who's struggling this holiday season? Who's struggling? Maybe that's the title. Who's struggling this holiday season? And I think that there's a lot of this is my own stuff that I'm just processing, and then a lot of this is people that I've worked with as well. I've noticed that there are quite a lot of you, and I think I understand why this is. Quite a lot of you are very, very hardworking, very, very determined, and also totally and utterly exhausted. And when I say you, I'm including myself in this. Certainly until recently, maybe not so much now. Maybe old Asher for sure. Like, you're the kind of person that everybody relies on. First in at work, last to leave, the person that everyone turns to in a crisis. At home, you're the fixer, you smooth over arguments, you keep all the traditions alive. You're the one buying the presents and managing the calendar and making sure everyone pulls their weight. And also, let's face it, dealing with the lion's share of the kind of like mental kind of load, the mental paperwork that you have to do, their family admin and all that stuff. That's you. And you probably have a job, you're working hard too. I mean, my goodness, you're exhausted. You're used to putting other people first because that's what you've always done, right? And it's probably because you've grown up believing that love was something that you had to earn. Probably because your parents were not the warm, nurturing, emotionally available types. Probably because your parents set impossibly high standards, made it clear to you that you couldn't fail, that you couldn't fall short, because that was shameful. That was met with disapproval, possibly that was met with abandonment or rejection, or being ignored. So you just learned you had to work hard. You had to earn people's love and affection and kindness. And, you know, over time you learned you had to, that's how you earned your value, how you earned your keep. People aren't going to keep you around unless you work hard. So I guess you've like over the years internalized this belief that your worth is tied to your achievements and your ability to take care of others. I say that again, your worth is tied to your achievements and your ability to take care of others. And oof, I wrote that down on a piece of paper the other day as I was as I was journaling, and I was like, oh, that's a big one. Because for a very long time, I truly, truly believe this. And I think to some degree I still do. Or at least there's a part of me that still does. And so, other people will look at you and just be like, oh, such a high achiever. Just, steady, dependable, you know, like you've got this, you've always got this long to-do list. I bet you people always bring up your to-do list, or you certainly know about this to-do list. It's in your head, like it's really, really long. But you hold things together, you get it done. Right. But I guess deep down, there's this feeling like you're the only one that people can count on, right? No one else can do it. You're the one that people can count on, whether it's at work or with your family. You're the one that steps up. You're the one that gets things done. You're the one that does what needs to be done, right? Like there's a need, I'm going to meet it no matter what. You're strong, you're capable, you're used to managing a lot. You are great at spinning lots of plates at the same time. But at the same time, you're tired. You're exhausted, let's face it. The pressure to keep going and like to be on at all times is taking its toll. You have been so busy taking care of everything and everyone else that you've basically forgotten to take care of yourself. And you've been doing it for so long that, like, when people talk about self-care, you think it's bubble baths or spa days, which just feels like that's not the fix. That's not the fix you're looking for. Sounds delightful, but it's not the fix you're looking for. And things being what they are at the moment, this year it feels like everything is just that little bit worse, right? Um, the holiday's not easy anyway. Um, family pressure, and then there's all this kind of resentment that's building up, and you're forcing yourself to be cheerful even when you're not cheerful. That's never fun. But this year is particularly difficult. And you're trying to manage all of these different expectations, everyone else's needs, everyone else's wants, and they're probably all different. And I wrote down, family gatherings can be a bit of an emotional landmine, or full of emotional landmines, because you just step one foot in the wrong place and explosion. Um, And if your parents are alive, then you may be used to very distant parents or not so subtle parents. Um, how many of you have a mother? That's usually a mother who whose remarks about your body make you feel like you're 13, not a grown-up woman, not a successful woman, not a parent, like, or whatever it is that you are, successful business person, or maybe you have your own kids, maybe you have your own 13-year-olds, and yet your mother can reduce you to that, teenager. And maybe you've got to this point where you're like, actually, I just want to stay at home. I just want to stay at home. I don't want to do any of it. But there's all this pressure and expectation from your parents, and it's difficult to know how to let them down, because then it just gets worse, and then there'll be all this passive aggressive stuff, and like it's actually just easier to just do it. Oh man, as I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a bit nauseous. Um, yeah, man, that's hard. It feels like you're drowning. It feels like you are running on fumes and have been for such a long time, you don't know any different. Feels like you're emotionally drained, physically drained, spiritually drained, energetically. You've just got no energy left. And you know that come January, you'll just be like you will just be on the floor, like you will be so tired because you've just spent the entire season giving to everyone else and not caring about yourself because that's what you do. It's exhausting. And maybe you're not like maybe you're not that kind of, maybe you're not that perfect. Maybe you're a bit more messy, right? Maybe you don't have it all together. Maybe you're sitting here thinking, listening to me and be like, yeah, I can sort of relate, but let's be honest, I'm not the person that people depend on, and I am not the first one into work and the last one to leave. That's not me, you know? And that, I think that person was me a while ago. And since then, I've become a much more messier human. But I still think deep down, you're the strong one. Maybe not strong at, maybe not the one that everyone depends on at work, because maybe you've taken a step back from work. Maybe you're at part-time now. Maybe you're like, not able to work as hard. And maybe you're not able to earn your place in people's life. But I still think you're the strong one. I still think you're the one that people turn to when they need help, which is just, sometimes like that often happens to people who are actually the ones who need the most help. It never ceases to amaze me that the strong ones, the ones that I meet on a day-to-day basis, who are holding it together and going through so much shit. And I'm like, how are you awake, present? Like, how did you get up? How did you manage to get through yesterday and the day before? Because that sounds awful. And yet they are the ones that everyone else relies on. It never fails to amaze me. And even if they're not like, you know, able to work anymore, or able to maybe they don't have their own children, maybe they don't have their own family, maybe things are really like, falling apart a little bit, maybe they're in debt now, and maybe it doesn't matter. I'm still like, yeah, but still, how are you doing it? Some of my clients are like, but I'm still in my pajamas. I'm like, yeah, but you got out of bed. Like, you showed up. Like, that in itself is amazing. So I wonder if you are still the strong one, the strong silent type who is suffering and struggling, but maintaining a brave face, putting on a mask in front of other people, never quite able to let that mask down, to let it slip and show people the true version of you, the real, the vulnerable person part of you. And I get it. I get it. Like, maybe you've got like a chronic health condition, maybe you've got a chronic disability, especially an invisible disability. No one can see it. And it's impacting literally everything you do. It's a very vulnerable place to be, right? So if you don't if you let that mask slip and people see what's going on underneath, that's vulnerable. It doesn't necessarily feel safe, especially if you exist already in a marginalized body. Last thing you want to do is give people ammunition, right? And maybe you're somebody, maybe you don't have a disability, maybe you're someone who's struggled with, survived a toxic relationship or more than one toxic relationship, a relationship that completely drained your energy, your self-worth, your just everything. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you don't have that many people you can turn to. Maybe you're wishing that you did have more a place to go during the holidays. Maybe you don't have a place to go during the holidays. Um, that can be really lonely. But sometimes you have lots of people around you and you still feel lonely, it works both ways. So you're not the kind of person that asks for help. You're the kind of person that is pushing through, powering on, but not able to ask for help because it's not safe. And maybe now, especially again with the world being what it is, maybe now you've got to a stage where you're like, I am holding things together with like duct tape and, sheer will, but not much else. Like, it is not steady. The foundations are beginning to shake. Things are beginning to crumble. I'm not able to hold on that much longer. Um, Especially if you're struggling with chronic pain and chronic fatigue, because you don't have the energy to hold on, and yet you're holding on. And And yet, you put on a brave face, and yet you still don't feel like you can reach out and ask for help. And yet you're still pretending that things are okay when they're not. And I imagine you have no idea what it feels like to put yourself first. I imagine that is just so far removed from your current situation that there is no like there's no point of reference, you know? Like someone says to you, oh, you've got to put your own needs first, and you're like, okay, what does that even look like? Because I'm in agony, because I'm exhausted, because I can't function in this world. If I actually really put my own needs first, like I would be homeless. I would be, I wouldn't survive. I can't survive. You're like talking, you're talking from a place of privilege, and that's often the case, right? When you are disabled, when you are struggling with, with especially multiple intersecting kind of forms of oppression, like people are saying like, oh, put your own needs first, just feels a bit ridiculous. Like what exactly does that mean? And that's really hard. It's really hard. I'm not suggesting I know what the answer is to that because it's really hard. And I have so many clients in that situation. I mean, you need a place where you can let your guard down, a safe space to let your guard down. But that's tricky. That is really tricky. And, I have also like noticed that, especially around this time of the year, um, what am I trying to say here? It's the empaths. I have a lot of clients who are empaths. It doesn't surprise me. People who really like one might describe as a sensitive soul, who feel things deeply, who are really good at picking up on the tension in a room, who are really good at like noticing other people's emotional needs and also have a real sense of responsibility. Like I've noticed this and it's my job to fix it. Many of you were raised by narcissists. That's the reality. Because when you're raised by a narcissist, you spend your life trying to anticipate their needs. Because if you don't anticipate their needs, there will be consequences. So you are able to recognize, to pick up on really subtle cues, but also the moment you notice that cue, you feel like, oh, I've got to fix it. I've got, it's my job, it's my responsibility. So I'm talking to you right now, folks, and believe me when I say I can understand. You can't help but get absorbed in the emotional energy of those around you. Oh, and it's tricky because you end up carrying the emotional load for others. And it might not be the physical stuff. You might not be, I'm not talking necessarily about tangible stuff now. I'm talking about emotional stuff. Like you're holding all of this emotional stuff like it's a weight on your shoulders or like a bag or something that you're carrying. And this time of the year again that bag gets heavier and heavier and heavier because it's the holidays, right? So yeah, I reckon you're probably neurodivergent, not necessarily, but there's a good chance you are. I this is my personal belief. I grew up thinking that autistic people struggled to understand emotion. That's bullshit. I think autistic people are overwhelmed by emotion, and that's different. And so, quite often you're neurodivergent, maybe you're autistic, maybe you have ADHD, and so you're very sensitive to what's going on around you. Um, but being so sensitive makes you very vulnerable, right? Because as other people have emotional ups and downs, especially around this time of the year, like you're going on that roller coaster with them. And whew, that's hard going. It really is. Um, Especially when it comes to food and your body. I mean, the holidays are difficult anyway, especially the the sensory overwhelm of the holidays. I talked about that a lot in my last episode, but I'm talking specifically now about the emotional overwhelm. Um, and I think this goes hand in hand with food, I really do. Like in lots of different ways. And it's something that I'm picking up a lot. So some of you have grown up in families who show their love through food. and food is comforting. Food is familiar, it's warm, like eating, like as a family is a thing that you do. And many of you also, because you're picking up on all of the tension, if you grew up with, and it's usually women, mums, grandmas, aunties, it might be men as well, but it tends to be, and you know, sorry for using very binary terms there, but people who are conditioned as women, I should say, people who grew up being conditioned into the role of woman, will often be hiding a lot of, excuse me, deep-seated insecurities when it comes to their own bodies. And that is presented alongside the turkey and all the fixings. It is presented alongside it, right? So you have some food and have a side helping of guilt to go with it. Who can relate? Um, Man, many of you feel really suffocated by this, feel really overwhelmed by this, like the constant weight of expectations. And people don't even have to say anything. Oh my goodness, they don't even have to say anything. Like it's one thing to have like a family member who's just flat out rude. Sometimes it's easier because you can, you know, it's like, oh, I can pick up on that quite quickly. But if you're an empathetic person who's constantly sort of navigating the emotions in the room, you might be picking up on things that aren't as obvious. And then you're like, questioning, is it real, am I imagining it, and like, you know, I'm trying to have fun here, but what does that comment mean? And like it just gets really overwhelming, and then you don't get to enjoy the fun, you know, the fun parts of the holiday, like I said, the pies that I've never tried, um if pie is your thing. So yeah, there's a lot of expectations and they're often unspoken. And at the same time, you're in this dynamic where maybe you're around your family, or you know, you're sitting around a table, maybe it's with work colleagues or whatever, and you're sitting around a table and you are picking up on everyone else's emotions. And when there's tension that's bubbling to the surface, as there always will be, it's your natural inclination to try and fix it. That's your job. You're the fixer. You're the one that's supposed to tend to everyone's emotional needs. And so sitting down at a table can be like sitting, you know, going into battle. Right? It's not just the food, it's the looks, it's the comments, it's the judgments, it's the tension. And like, I don't know, if you're like me and you love food, you really want to enjoy these moments, right? You want to be able to savor the food, and especially like some foods that only come around at this time of year. People go to a real effort to cook and prepare foods over the holiday season, and you just want to enjoy them if you're anything like me. But but when it comes with that side helping of guilt, it makes you feel nauseous, if nothing else. Um, yeah, even though, you know, you can have the most loving family members, people who really genuinely just care for you, right? Or it could be your friends or, you know, colleagues, whatever. Like you know that deep down inside they're not being malicious, but it doesn't matter because they're all struggling with their own insecurities and their own internalized fat phobia, or maybe they're a thin person who just doesn't get it. And they're uncomfortable with their own bodies, and so they kind of like uh project that onto you, and you being an empathetic person, you just absorb it all and you suck it all up. Yeah. So that's a lot. It's quite the emotional toll to have to pay at this time of the year. uh it's it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky, all of this stuff that's coming up at the moment, you know, like I grew up on American movies. I was raised on a diet of American movies, even the occasional Hallmark movie. And like Christmas was sold to me, the Christmas period, the holiday seasons was sold to me, especially as someone who didn't have this in my own home. Like we didn't do Christmas, the traditional Christmas that perhaps you'd see in these Hallmark movies, and many of you might be used to. Um, so I grew up with this like this vision, this kind of dream, this myth. It was a myth of like the holiday season and everyone coming together. And yes, there's tension, but also everyone loves each other. And I didn't have a family that loved each other. That was wishful thinking. I mean, there was love to some degree in some ways, but I had lots of very complicated relationships with my family members, and some of them were very toxic relationships. And so there was this dream that I constantly held, and every time we'd get to this time of the year, and like um we hadn't started playing the Christmas music yet. So I hadn't got sick of it yet because oh my God, that's an entire podcast episode, all the Christmas songs I never want to hear again. But like that hadn't started, the twinkly lights were about to be set on, the food smelled delicious. There were all these treats showing up in the supermarket and everyone was getting ready. And also it was a break from work, so that was really nice. I knew I'd have some time off. And so like, I don't know, I have this real dream about the holidays, especially when I was growing up. And as I said, watching a lot of Hallmark movies. And then like the holidays became more of like a chore, something I had to do, something I had to perform, and it was not fun at all. And now I'm gonna be honest with you, I do fuck all over the holidays. I really don't. I mean, it's pajamas all the way. We will cook as a family, but it's just us, just the immediate family. No relatives are invited. We moved literally to another country to avoid having to invite them. We do food and we watch TV and we play games together, lots of games together. And there's literally no expectations whatsoever. And if anyone has an expectation, I'm like, fucking go and do it yourself. I'm not doing it for you. But that's taken a lot of practice and a lot of hard work. And it's not, and I'm in a very privileged position to be able to do that. I'm not going to lie to you. And by privileged, I mean pretty much all of my relatives are dead or not talking to me. So there are no expectations. Um, how was I gonna end this? I didn't have a plan. I'm just not sure what the plan is now. One of the things I really want to do, or not that I want to do, that I am doing, is I'm inviting you to come and be part of my world. I absolutely love the medical stuff. I really do. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'll go and see Asha when I have a medical problem or I'm struggling with weight stigma or fat phobia. And I love doing all of that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I do more than that. Um, I think my skill set goes beyond just the medical stuff. And Fat, Festive, and Fierce is one of those times that I really just want to just put the medical stuff down for a moment because there's other things that are going on. I don't know how many of you have checked out my course, Redefining Health. I definitely did an episode about redefining health a while ago. I don't know when. It was quite a while ago. And if you head to my website, fatdoctor.co.uk, and you click on free resources, you'll find Redefining Health. And it comes from like a while ago when I was sat down and I was trying to define health, which is something I've been doing for years and never really succeeded in doing. But what I realized was that health just was so much more than physical. And I mean, I think we all know this, but relationships that we have with other people, relationships that we have with our own bodies, the relationship that we have with people in positions of authority, all of that, all of those things absolutely impact our health and well-being. They impact pain, they impact fatigue, they impact mood, they impact our hormones and the insulin pathway and chronic inflammation and thyroid function. All of these things, like your relationship with your parents, absolutely has an impact on your physical health, your physiology, your neurochemistry, your neurobiology, all of that stuff is all impacted. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, all impacted by the relationships we have with people, the relationships we have with the world around us, and the relationship we have with ourselves. And that's something I talk about in Redefining Health. And if you haven't had a chance, I think it's an hour at best. Just like a few videos where I really talk you through it, and there's a little picture that I designed on Canva because me and Canva are best mates. So yeah, I think at this time of the year, it's really important to talk about stuff that goes beyond the physical. Now, I'm going to be doing a masterclass on sleep apnea because I do a masterclass every month. And so if you have sleep apnea, the masterclass is coming up. I think it's entitled, I wrote it a while ago, Thin People Get Sleep Apnea Too, because it really isn't a fat person's condition, even though that's what everyone wants us to believe. So I'm going to be talking about sleep apnea in a weight inclusive way. If you are part of the No Way program, or if you've caught the first episode of No Way, well, the second one's coming up, and I am going to be talking about the myth of willpower. I'm going to be talking about what controls our weight. I'm going to be giving real, like, in-depth. I'm giving you a real in-depth analysis. I'm trying to think what I've done. So episode 1, by the time this comes out, will have been written and hopefully posted. Episode 1, chapter 1, I mean. And so you can read all about why weight loss is unsustainable. You can learn about the National Weight Control Registry. You can learn about the kind of physiology that determines the weight loss cycle. And next month, as I said, in December, I'm going to be talking about what controls weight and the myth of willpower. So if you're into the health stuff, what I'm saying is I've got you. Sleep apnea? Gotcha. Not into sleep apnea, but want to know about fatty liver disease? Don't worry, just go to my website. Look up masterclasses, look at all the ones I've done in the past. You can watch them, catch up with them anytime. Arthritis, perimenopause, diabetes, PCOS. I'm not going to list them all. They're on the website. So head on to the website. And by the way, I have revamped my website. I keep doing it, but this time I think it looks really good. So yeah, head to the website, fatdoctor.co.uk. But what I'm trying to say is all of these things are important. And let's not forget the other parts of medicine, of health, of well-being that are equally as important. So if you're sitting there and you've been listening and you've been thinking, do you know what, I can absolutely relate to some of the things, maybe not all of the things, but some of the things that Asher has said in his podcast this week. And you're thinking, yeah, but like, what am I supposed to do about it? Okay, fine. You've told me what the problem is, but what's the solution? Well, that's why I introduced Fat, Festive and Fierce. That's why I've created the space. It's going to be a very warm, very safe place for you to let your guard down, for you to navigate the holidays. I've done a pep talk, the first pep talk. I'm really quite proud of it. I read it, I played it to my husband. You can either read it or you can listen to it. Kind of like a Substack post. And even he thought it was okay. And by that I got more than just a grunt, which is like a double thumbs up, 5-star, would recommend. So yeah, I've got a pep talk waiting for you. We've got weekly huddles. There'll be bits and bobs in there to support you. Plenty of discussion. We're building a pillow fort, mainly in our minds, but maybe in real life. There's just lots of fun stuff going on. So really, like, have a think. You might be thinking, oh, what's the solution? This is life. This is how it is. And maybe it is. Maybe that's what you've been led to believe. Maybe you believe you don't deserve anything more than that. Maybe you just think, fuck it, I'm just going to get on with it. It's easier than doing anything else. And that's fair enough. But I'd love you to just maybe consider the fact that there's more available to you. Fat, Festive and Fierce. You can pay over 3 months. So long after we've moved into the new year, you can still be paying for it. I don't expect to pay for it all up front. I've done it at a low cost, so hopefully cost won't be an issue. And I just would really love to see you there. I really would. So head to my website, head to signature programs. Fat, Festive and Fierce is there. You can also find it in the front page. You can also find it in the stories of my Instagram posts. I mean, you can find it anywhere, really. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found that helpful. And join me next week when we'll be doing something else. I don't know what it is because I haven't planned it yet, but it will be good, I'm sure. See you then.